Welcome to Connections Podcast, where we bring value and connect with inspiring individuals from the world of real estate. In today's episode, we have a special guest, Alfred Taren from the Unexa Group. Alfred is an active real estate professional who specializes in the niche field of surplus funds, helping clients uncover and reclaim lost assets. Alfred, welcome back to the show.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Connections Podcast. I'm very, very excited to have our host today. Actually, he's here for the second time, but he was so good the first time. We had to bring him back on here. And, it's funny. He at first, it's funny how we met. And now I consider him a really good friend of mine. We've gone out, our wives have met, and it's just been a good time ever since. And we even have some potential deals in the pipeline. So that's pretty exciting from the surplus and stuff like that. But I'm very excited to bring on Alfred.
Thanks for having me again, bro. I'm glad you thought I did good the first time.
Yeah, you did okay.
It was all right. I could do better. I have a question, though.
Yeah.
Why did we wear the same shoes today?
You guys, it wasn't planned either. The Panda
I didn't
Dunks.
call him and say,
it's a Friday shoe, though,
It is a Friday shoe. Casual Friday, but all good, brother. All good. Thanks for having me, man, once again.
Yeah, that's cool,
the place
right?
Looks great.
Good minds. We should have worn the Offer Central shirt right now that I gave you, so we could have been for sure matching with the same fit.
We would have been like twinning it hard. What's the Sadies? The Sadie Hawkins?
Yeah, we look the same age too, so that's cool, yeah?
That's true. Just turned 25.
Yeah, last week. That's cool, dude. But yeah, I mean, tell us what's been different. I know, what was the last time you were on here? Like 2 months ago, right?
A couple months now, yeah.
That's crazy how fast that goes by.
Yeah, I mean, it's already I hear people popping fireworks already, bro.
Yeah, it's interesting because last time you were here, we didn't even have these mics yet. We didn't have the software that we're using or any of that.
I'm trying to get used to this.
It's a little
it's pretty sweet, though.
It's pretty official, huh?
Yeah.
Like our voices will probably sound like Drake right now.
Yeah.
They're like nice
I feel
and crisp.
like Elvis, just like
yeah, that's cool, dude. But yeah, what's been different? What have you been doing these past? I know we're halfway through, almost done with the second quarter now.
It's scary, bro. It's scary because sometimes you're not at where you want to be at midpoint, right?
Yeah.
But like in the surplus business, because there's a lot of money sitting on the books, where we file our claims with title escrow, and a lot of that money gets pushed off the books the last quarter. What's cool about surplus is like our last quarter of the year is like half of our business.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting you say that, because for me personally, for us as a real estate salesperson, wholesaler, whatever, that's usually the slowest time. Right now is usually the busiest time. And it's funny because, usually during the summers when the kids are out of school, and it's when people plan on selling and relocating usually in the summertime. So like right now for us, it's picking up a lot. Like our pipeline is getting pretty nice right now.
Yeah. That's because I think we're on different sides of the coin. Right. Like you're dealing with people who are not already foreclosed. Right. So, when the holidays start approaching, people start slowing down on additional tasks and additional duties and additional spending and things like that. With surplus, these people already lost their house. And so they are waiting for money to come in. And so there's a lot of pressure on the foreclosure attorneys to get the funds off of their books, because the holidays are here and they want to get those funds off of their accounting books. And so we usually see a big influx of payouts on the last quarter. But yeah, I mean, what's new? There's a lot of things that are new. We got some new partnerships, new attorneys that we're working with, new probate attorneys. I'll be joining the Offer Central CRM.
That's right. You guys heard it from the Surplus King himself.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's exciting. Some of the things that you're showing me on the CRM are pretty crazy, pretty intense. Yeah. It's like the CRM can do a backflip.
It's so dialed in to the point where we know when we look up somebody, I don't have to ask my partner, hey, where are we with this lead? I can go on the CRM and we can see literally how many times we've called that person, how many times we've texted, what campaign they're on, when did they come in, all the call recordings, all the notes from the calls, all the documents we've collected are in the files. Like I don't even have to ask. I just go look up the person that I need to look up and all the information is on there. It's insane.
That's what I need, bro. That's what I need. So what are you guys doing with the pre-foreclosure stuff? Because I just started looking at pre-foreclosures, and what we're doing is trying to make connections with those folks, either to help them sell the property, right? That's a beautiful thing about real estate, is like you can be in so many places with one deal, right? You can be in the pre-foreclosure stage, even before they go to pre-foreclosure. You can buy the house, you can wholesale the house. In pre-foreclosure, you can bail them out.
Even probates,
you can help them stay in the property if they're in pre-foreclosure, and you can follow them to foreclosure if it doesn't work out, and get the surplus. But what's been really enlightening to me recently is the idea of novations, right? About this topic a lot. I just started implementing this into my business, to where a lot of the business can come directly from agents, and agents, as you know, a lot of agents are one-trick ponies, right?
It's not a list.
They just list and hope for the best. And when there's properties that are days on market, 60, 90 days on market or more, like what do they normally do? They just kind of give up. They might do an extra open house, maybe do a couple social media posts.
Yeah, the thing with most realtors is that they don't really understand what marketing is. Like for them, I mean, I come from a realtor background, right? So I'm still licensed. The reason we didn't get big on novations too was because I am licensed in California. California is a very Sioux-friendly state.
Yeah.
So it could get very tricky when you're licensed and you're doing novations. We don't have the nationwide operation no more, but agents don't really know how to market. Like if you do, good for you. If you don't, you might want to listen. Most agents will just take a listing and they'll put it on the market. We're spoiled. Realtors are spoiled. Just same thing with like title. Like if we need numbers, who do we call title? Right? At least when I was a realtor, I didn't know what skip tracing was. I didn't know what tracking down a homeowner is. I didn't know what probates were. I didn't know any of that. I just knew how to cold call, circle prospecting, just literally just random raw data, and then putting a sign up and then putting it on the market.
Yeah.
And that was all I knew.
That's insane, bro. Like they're supposed to be like the forefront of a real estate transaction. They're supposed to know all possible exit strategies, and they don't.
No, they just know how to list. And most realtors will not give you the best option. Even if listing is not your best option, they will try to close you on the listing. And that's what I see a big issue with right now. Is a lot of sellers aren't just, hey, here's a cash offer. Hey, here's let me list it for you. I can get you top. It's not even that. A lot of the times these homeowners don't even want to leave. And you just got to find a solution with them where it doesn't matter what they pick, as long as they pick it with you and your company.
Right. And what I'm realizing now, being on the other side of the transaction, not just the post foreclosure side, I'm starting to deal with agents, and they don't have the foresight to say, you know what, if I pick up this listing as a traditional listing, it's not going to sell. I mean, they should know, like you would know, right? Like you can look at a listing, the price that the seller wants, the condition of the property, the location, the demand, the inventory, and you factor all these things in, and this property is going to sell in less than 30 days because it's a sweet deal.
Yeah, it's hot.
Or you're going to look at it and be like, this property is not going to move, and this seller is Looney Tune, but I'm going to throw up a Hail Mary and see what happens. And that's not the right strategy, I think. I'm not an agent, but if I were an agent, I would start partnering with wholesalers like you. I would partner with people that know post foreclosure strategies, just in case you're trying to sell a property that has an auction date. I would partner with people that do novations, right? Where you look at a property that's 60, 90 days on market and it's not going to sell. What are your options? You're just going to keep crossing your fingers and keep lying to the seller. The option for a novation is to work with somebody that knows how to bring in their own capital, bring in their own contractors, get the property to 2024 market ready condition. Then they can help you, work in conjunction with you as the agent, to market that property through several different channels, not just, an open house once a month or whatnot.
Or just the MLS.
Putting it on several different platforms, and then getting the seller the price that they want, you as the agent getting paid on the higher price because now it's renovated.
Yeah.
Right. And then the person that came in and basically saved your butt, the investor, the person who had the novation idea to begin with, they get an ROI on all the forced appreciation. So I think a novation, like now that I really grasp the concept of a novation, it just makes a whole lot of sense. And wholesalers that are not jumping on this are really leaving a lot of money on the table, because sellers and agents that represent sellers, they're getting sick and tired of people calling and saying, hey, I'll offer you $20 for that house.
Yeah, 20
So, if you got another strategy other than offering 50% of the ARV,
yeah,
where you can come in and give the seller close to what their asking price is. I mean, we know that every seller thinks they're sitting on a pot of gold.
And some are.
And some are, yeah. But most are not, right? And so if you can come in and say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm not going to lowball you like 90% of the people that have been calling you, 99% of the people that have been calling you. I am going to come up to a price that's pretty close to your asking. But what I asked in return is that you allow me to come in with my own capital, renovate the property to a standard that's market ready for today's market. And then I'm going to help you sell it using our own market strategies. And at the end of it, I'm going to cut you a check for the price that you asked. And then I'm going to take all the forced appreciation as my return on investment. And if I cannot sell your property, Mr. Seller, I'll buy it from you at the price that you asked. Like, that's powerful. That's
or you
a
keep
win-win.
the renovations.
Or you keep the renovations.
But you're going to sell it. So,
right. If you didn't put a lot of money into it, then you can just, kind of let them keep it. Right. You move on to the next deal that's going to hopefully make up for the lost deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm excited about novations. I'm looking to partner with some solid agents. And it doesn't have to be an agent with experience in novating. It just an agent that's keeping an open mind, an agent that is willing to work with investors and wholesalers and, new school strategies.
Yeah. I think the power in novations too is because from what I know, a true novation is not putting any money up front. It's like, say, for example, if the seller wants $300,000, right, for you to buy it cash, you need to be at like 190, and they're like, hey, I want 240, right? So there's still a $60K spread there, but it's not really like there's no wholesale. It's a very thin property, right? Mm-hmm. Even if it is turnkey, then what you would do is you would you would tell the seller, hey, I can guarantee that price. You just got to let me market it the way I want and put a retail buyer in there.
Yeah.
And then that's what a true novate, from what I know, right, is not putting any money, but then putting it on the market and selling it for 300, and then you keep, say, 30 grand right after commissions and all that stuff without putting any money out of pocket, because say the closing costs and all that will come from the proceeds.
Yep.
Will get covered from the proceeds.
And that is right. Actually, that's true. That's the real novation strategy that most people use. They don't come in, they maybe do a cleanup, right?
At most,
clean it up,
if that,
take some photos.
That's
right.
It. Yeah. Professional photos and put it on the market.
And it works. It works that way. So the strategy that I'm using in conjunction, I partner with Buyer Beater out of Temecula.
Nice.
The strategy that they're using is we can come in with a traditional novation, which is their definition is $5,000 spend or less, traditional novation. But we could also, and they call that the equity protection, right? Equity
protection program.
This is the term.
Novation King. Shout out to Novation King.
Yeah.
I have the course.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I checked out Eric Brewer's, it's not the full course, it's just the teaser.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what they call it, equity protection. And then there's equity split. Equity split means, Mr. Seller, I'm going to come in and I'm going to deploy capital to actually break down walls and renovate your property. Okay. And I'm going to be able to get you your asking price. And sometimes I can get you a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so if I can force that much appreciation on your property, we'll do an equity split.
So question about that. So with the equity split, would you split the way you would pitch it? Would you pitch like a certain price and then you keep the difference, or would you pitch a percentage? Because then you tell them, hey, I'll give you maybe a little more, but then at that point, would you negotiate like a percentage?
You could do both. You can say, hey, I'm going to give you this percentage of the revenue over and above this amount, right? Over and above whatever asking price.
Yeah, that's good.
Or you can say, hey, we can put you on a tier schedule, which I think it becomes a little more complicated. Say, hey, if your property sells between 500 and 510, then I can give you an extra 2,500, right? Or if it sells like way more, then I can give you this much more. So either percentage or tier schedule, I think as long as, as long as you can agree with the seller and the agent involved on what's fair, really the rules are 100% flexible.
Another question too, right? Just so that way, because my partner's done a bunch of novations. He did like 60 novations in the last, I think he said, what was it, like 24 months or something like that.
That's insane.
So he's done a lot. Yeah, we just partnered up actually April 1st. That's why I don't know the exact number, right? But he has a lot of experience. So when you tie up, say, the novation and you deploy the capital, how do you protect your money?
Well, that comes from really, really good underwriting.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's contracts with attorneys.
Would you go on title or no?
You would not go on title. No, you would not go on title. But I believe, right? Don't quote me on this, but I believe
do a huge rehab or something, right? If you're deploying 50 plus, like
right.
You have to go on title, you know?
Right. And there's ways to do it where I think you can put a lien on it until the transaction is done, just like you would with a memorandum. And so there's ways to protect both sides, both parties. So this way you don't put 50 grand into a deal and then the seller is like, hey, thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
See ya.
Yeah. There's no way.
Right.
Yeah,
So
there's no way.
The guys I partner with, Buyer Beater out of Temecula, these guys, they spend a lot of money on their contracts, and they've done like 150 novations in the last couple of years successfully, and so they know what they're doing. And
that's a good amount.
Yeah, they said, because I asked them, I go, hey, how many out of those 150, how many have you taken a loss on? And they said none. They broke even on a couple, but they've never taken a loss.
That's a win.
So yeah,
for doing that amount of volume,
for that volume, it's insane.
What's their average? Did they tell you what their average profitability is per deal?
Yeah, they want to make 30 grand or more. I think is pretty standard for a novation. You want to make 30 grand or more. Yeah. And then to break it down like on a return wise, so it's 70% or more cash on cash return. So if you're going to deploy 100 grand, you want to make 170. Right. At least, but most of their deals are actually over 70% cash on cash.
That's good.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it is like they'll fund it, right? They'll renovate it, they'll market it, they'll project manage it, and all you do is bring the deal, right? And so now,
say I had a deal, they do essentially all the legwork. I source the deal, they do the legwork for the deal, get it. Everybody pay, and then they get everybody paid. That's it.
And so now that I'm an extension of Buyer Beater, like literally you could bring the deal to me. For example, if you're not in like the mastermind or the community, I'm not sure what we call it, but if you're an extension of Buyer Beater, which they have people nationwide now, bringing deals to them, bringing deals to their members. So it's pretty much you just get the deal, right? Because if you can't wholesale it and make your 20, 30, 40 grand or whatever, and if it's going to be a lost deal, you may as well offer this, pass it on to me or Buyer Beater, which would be the same thing, and let us do the rest. And then you just wait till the transaction is done and get paid.
Definitely keep that in mind for those of you that are hearing out there for sure. And the whole concept, I hope you guys are listening, right? It's having different exit strategies. I was having a conversation the other day with one of my mentors, and I was telling him, I was like, dude, if you're only wholesaling, unless you've already been wholesaling for a little while, it's very hard to get into wholesaling right now. If you're only doing, say, listings or an agent, like it's very hard to just be an agent unless you're already established and you've been an agent for a while, right? Yeah. And you have return business. Same thing with the wholesaling, and you have your systems down. But if you're just trying to get into it right now, it's a very, very difficult industry to even tap into right now. The ones that are making it are the ones that have multiple exit strategies, cash offers, novations, standard listings, wholesaling, flipping, like
short sales,
foreclosures, probates, like very, very well versed. Like for us, before rates changed, we were doing a lot of mass marketing, cold calling, a lot of cold calling. I was pulling probably 200,000 records a month. I had 20 cold callers.
That's insane.
And I still have the records. I have like 4 million records in the cloud right now.
Holy.
But I was pulling anywhere from 100 to 200,000 records a month. And we were doing mass wholesaling or mass marketing. And we were doing texting before the laws changed, all that stuff, right? And once all that pivoted, all outbound because the market was good. Now that the market, it's still good, but it's a niche market. You can't just mass market right now. It's very hard. You have to you can do it. And the issue that I was running into is that we were making a lot, but we were spending a lot. Mm-hmm. So then, our net was only like, at the time it was like 20 grand a month. Dude, I can do a deal right now by myself, one deal a month and make 20 grand. Yeah. Like, why even have the overhead or the operation all that stuff, right? So completely pivoted now. So now we're focusing mainly on inbound. And a lot of the stuff we do is no more mass marketing. If we are going to call, it's going to be a very niche list, like say foreclosures or probates or just a very, very targeted list. So, I mean, the most records we'll probably pull is like 10,000, like a very, very specific list though. Yeah. And we'll bang out that list many times.
I think that's the name of the game now. I mean, there's so many like moving parts and there's so many variables to being successful as whatever, an agent, a wholesaler, surplus. It's a lot more difficult than the gurus will tell you.
It's very difficult.
There's a lot of moving parts and it takes practice and repetition. And, but I think the name of the game is what you said, which is don't go so wide, go deep, right? Yeah. I think the winner at the end of the day is going to be the person who just doesn't give up on that lead, on that deal, on that follow-up, on that conversation, whatever it is. Because if you're going too wide, you can only have so many touches per lead. Yeah. If you're going deep, you can really massage that lead. You can really, really get in there and like, you can text it, you can email it, you can do all these things, right?
Dude, I'm at the point right now where I'm cold calling again. I've been cold calling. Like, I'm personally cold calling.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very targeted list. I hadn't done that in a couple of years. But like I said, we restructured everything. We got rid of all our cold callers, and now I'm cold calling. And I love to cold call. My whole business is built on cold calling. But I'm cold calling right now probates. Probates have been even the house I bought was a probate. And I bought that one with the $250,000 of equity.
Damn.
Yeah, off a cold call.
Meanwhile, most people are buying retail properties. And they're paying closing costs and realtor commissions. And
I wrap the closing costs. The closing cost on the loan. Yeah. Direct to seller, off market, no agents involved. Just for sale by owner. I direct buyer. When we were in escrow, as is, I was in escrow for $495, and the FHA, because I bought it FHA, the FHA appraisal came back at $585. Damn. To the point where after we closed, they called me like a week ago, and they're like, "Hey, what kind of renovations did you do to the house? Because we have to justify why you got it such a low price to the judge."
No way.
I mean, it's my house now. What can they do? But
they can't do anything now.
Yeah, that's that they're dealing with it. You get what I'm saying? The attorney and stuff. But it was off of cold calling, just me banging out the phones.
I hope to one day not have to cold call.
Of course, of course.
But honestly, it's a rush. It's a challenge. It's fun.
It's a dopamine hit for me.
It's a dopamine hit. There's no better high than being able to sell an idea, right? Yeah. To whoever it is on the other side of the table or the other side of the phone. I used to do in-person sales, and I don't know when I'll do my last cold call. I don't think I'll ever stop doing my last.
At least not for a while.
Yeah. I mean, maybe when I'm like, I don't know, when I can't pick up a phone. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not anywhere near in the foreseeable future.
Absolutely not. Yeah, for sure.
I like it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, especially with your office that you got here, you got other people in here doing calls, and that gives you energy. You feed off of that camaraderie. You get the competition.
Speaking of competition, my partner did 82 calls yesterday, and I stayed. I was the last one here, and I did 83.
Oh,
you know
man,
what? And and then once I hit 83, I was like, let me do a few more just in case he sees that, and he tries to do a few more. So I ended up the day with 89 calls.
And you guys see that on the dashboard?
Yeah, it's open. Yeah. We see. That's another thing, guys. You want to track your numbers. When I say dials, they're leads already, follow-ups, right? It's one thing to do cold calls, and then these were follow-ups in the CRM, so they're already leads, not just calling. Or unless they're probates. I did some probate calls too, but yeah, hand dialing, 89 of them. Out of those 89, I had 27 conversations.
That's a good ratio.
I generated 3 leads. I had a total of 35 minutes of actual talk time.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good ratio, bro. Anything coming out of that?
Yeah. There's a few right now that, again, it's nurturing. Right. You know, one of the biggest issues, if you're coming from a different industry, one of the biggest things I've learned is because I come from a door-to-door background. I did Dish Network. I did it for 2 years, and there I got so used to selling them on the spot when I was door knocking that I feel like if I didn't sell them on the spot, I wasn't going to sell them at all, right? In real estate, it doesn't work like that. When you're calling, the likelihood of you selling somebody over the phone or even door knocking the first touch, it's very, very unlikely.
Yeah.
Very unlikely. So there's a sales process, right? It's the lead generation. And then once it's a lead, you follow up with it. And then it's a discovery stage. Hey, why do you want to sell? What's your timeline? You know, what's going on? What's your situation, right? The discovery.
Right.
And then from there, you're in the negotiation, right? Once you say, hey, I'm going to call you back or whatever. And then from there, it's the close.
Right.
And that takes anywhere from 5 to 12 touches.
Yeah. But the crazy thing about that is most people are going to stop after 2 or 3 touches.
Yeah, I hope you do. So I can touch on the
so we can come in and
so
clean
I can come in on the 5th.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. and really, dude, like I think the winner in the game of real estate and the game of almost anything, right? Like business, real estate, you know, fitness, relationships. It's usually the person that mixes the most dangerous combo in the world, which is just time and work ethic, right?
And that's where systems come in too, right? Keeping track of how many times you've talked to that person after it comes into your system, right? If you attempted to call them 4 days in a row, 3 times a day, and they don't answer, we have a tab that goes into, it's called discovery stage. So then we have a lead manager calling them, which is a VA, all day, every day until they're rewarmed up, and then they pass them on to us again in the seller pipeline. So all we're focusing on is the seller pipeline.
Okay. Yeah, I need to grab a hold of that, dude, because
it's sick.
I'm going to jump on that really soon.
It's sick.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it takes a lot. It takes time, though.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing in terms of pre-foreclosures.
Yeah.
And, you know, how we might be able to work as you're a wholesaler, right? I'm a surplus funds specialist. How do you see people who do what you do, which you wholesale, right? Or you list a property.
Yeah.
How do you see people doing what you do? Because I see it. I just don't know if wholesalers and realtors and people who are working with sellers that are in distress, I don't know if they see it. So how would you see yourself working with someone like myself?
Yeah, I mean, just a perfect example is yesterday, right? As I was calling yesterday, I was calling probates, and a lot of the probates, which were probates, and then I saw that they were already being auctioned.
Okay.
Right. So that's a perfect example. How many addresses did I send you yesterday? Like 2 or 3?
Yeah.
And then I had the owner's name, I had the petitioner's name, I had the phone number, I had the address, had all that. And then you called me right away. You're like, hey, I see the sale date is this date. I'm going to reach out. Right. So I think that's a perfect example. If you're prospecting already and you see any, say, pre-foreclosures, you don't know how to work those, or anything that's like, say, at auction and they already have a sale date, or, you know, anything in that realm, I think is just a matter of calling you up and being like, hey, I think there's some money here. Because at that point, there's really not much I can do.
Right.
Once it's auctioned already. I mean, I can go on the website and submit a bid, but then those get flooded. And, you know, some of these people are buying crazy high. And I'm just like, dude, I can't compete with that, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. I think the opportunity that wholesalers, real estate investors have to be able to work with somebody like myself is exactly what you said. You know, if it's in, like if it's a probate and if it's a pre-foreclosure, and you can't get a deal made, even though it has an auction already, if you can't get a deal made, or you can't get a hold of the petitioner or the executor or the administrator,
and
of
it's
the estate,
auctioned or pre-foreclosure, you know?
yeah, that would be a good opportunity to bring the deal to me and my team and have us analyze the deal to see if, you know, there's enough equity there to where that we see that at a third party auction, that property is going to sell for more than the debt, right? Because that's the name of the game.
So those are the good ones then, the ones that are auctioned already, that are at auction.
Yeah, if they have an auction date, we can start working those deals in pre-foreclosure. We can still, I mean, you can still buy that property, right? You can still dispo that property.
Yeah, if I bid on it, you know?
Yeah, or, you know, like the ones you sent me. I'm assuming you didn't put a bid on them and you just couldn't reach the petitioner, right?
Correct.
So if the lead reaches a dead end, you can't reach the petitioner, you didn't make a bid on it, you don't know really who the seller is, you don't know who that is yet, right? Because it's an early stage of a probate, or it's in pre-foreclosure and you can't reach the person on title and you don't even know if they're alive. Once it gets to that point, you can send it to my team. We can do an even deeper skip trace with the software that we use, where we can actually get a hold of possible relatives in that scenario. And, you know, if it's, let's say Bob Smith's on title, like I'll call Sarah Smith, I'll call Jim Smith.
Yeah.
I'll call all the Smiths, right?
There's a lot of Smiths.
Right. And maybe not Smith, but, you know, but like so the way that we skip trace it is we skip trace the name of the person on title, and in conjunction with that, we use the address. With that combination, right, we're able to pull not only numbers, emails, and social media on the person on title, but we're actually able to do the same thing for their possible relatives. So in a lot of our cases where we close is because we just do relentless prospecting. We don't just call the homeowner, because that homeowner can be deceased. We don't know yet. Yeah. Right. And sometimes the records don't update quick enough for us to know that. And so even when we're calling, we tread lightly with that, because sometimes, and this happened to me too, and it definitely happens for my new salespeople, they'll be like, hey, can I speak to Sarah, please? And they're like, Sarah's deceased.
Oh yeah. That's happened to me many times, right? Many times. If you're on the phone enough times, that's going to happen to you. Right then and there, you're just I'm so sorry, Mr. Seller. My condolences to you and your family. I'm so sorry for your loss. Guys, when people say that, you want to acknowledge that. Like, you don't want to just, oh, okay, cool. Hey, are you thinking of selling? It's like, no. You have to acknowledge that. You have to stop. Hey, I'm so sorry, Mr. Seller. I hate to be the bad guy here. My condolences to you and your family. And then you do it, you know? And you really have to, like, change the mood right away, right? If you're good on the phones, you have to do this. If you're a good salesperson, even if you're not, you have to learn how to do this. Like, you have to learn how to change your tonality, change the speed in which that you're delivering your talk, right? So if you're talking really fast, like, oh, I am so sorry. Yeah. I've even said, hey, let's take a moment of silence for your family member over the phone. To show my respect. Hey, that's very respectful of you. Yeah. It sounds a little funny, but I've done it. Yeah. Okay. And it's stuff that it's like, I don't plan on doing that. But if it was your instinct. Yeah. It's just kind of like, just from doing so many calls, sometimes it just happens. Or like, you know, when I'm cold calling, I'll even say, I always say that I flip with my dad, right? Because my dad's a contractor and I'm the sales guy, right? I'm the one that sources the deals, makes the calls. And I always tell him, I'm like, yeah, you know, it's me and my dad that flip. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a lot younger than him. I have a lot more energy. So I'm the guy that's on the phones getting cussed out all day. And then they just start laughing, you know? Yeah. And they're like, oh, no, you're good. You know, so it's cool. You just gotta get your personality in there. You can't be afraid to show your personality over the phone. Oh, yeah. And at the end of the day, you got to remember that those are people too. 100%. It's like talking to a stranger, you know? Yeah, dude, 100%. And, you know, I was actually, because every morning, 9 a.m., we have our sales meeting, right, with my team. And we go over stuff like this, right? And you get a lot of people who are, you know, rightfully so. You're calling them out the blue, and they're just rude, right? Especially probates. Their family member passed away, and I'm calling them to see if they want to sell their house. Yeah, like that's
That is, yeah. And you don't know how fresh it is. And
exactly,
you know, if it was like their father or their mother, like it's very sensitive. But kind of switching back to what we can do to help someone like yourself who's wholesaling a lot of deals, you're seeing a lot of pre-foreclosures, you're seeing a lot of probate deals. And if these properties end up going to the auction, for whatever reason, maybe you couldn't come to an agreement, you couldn't reach the executor of the estate. And if those are high equity properties, we can start doing our due diligence in the pre-foreclosure stage to reach them, to let them know what is going on. And we do that by going super deep into the family tree, right? So we don't, like most softwares like PropStream and Batch, you know, they're going to give you the owner on title and that's it. You're going to get a couple phone numbers, maybe a couple emails, but that's it. But our work is deeper than that. It's kind of like a private investigator would do. And so we go not only wide in terms of the family tree, but we also go deep. Like we're going to call cousins, second cousins, uncles, associates.
Isn't it a trip that that properties can get foreclosed on? And a lot of people think that it got lost, right? And there's an heir to the property, but they think it's lost and their money's gone. But that's where you come in and you're like, hey, we can save some of that equity.
And that's funny because when I tell people that they have some unclaimed funds,
you're a scammer.
They're like, I go, hey, before you hang up, right? Yeah. Let me tell you how this happened. And then the other thing I have to tell them, I say, hey, Jim, this is public information. Are you in front of a computer or on your phone? Can you type this in? And I'll show them like online, like this is public information. I'm not calling you to yank your sleeve. I am calling you on some real facts that this just happened. And so the property sold for more than the debt, and the bank doesn't get to keep that. Right?
Most people don't know that.
They don't know that.
I didn't know that. And I've done over 200 transactions. I didn't know that till I met you like 5-6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know?
I asked what was it, a real estate agent? It was a sub two student. And I go, hey, I was talking to them over the phone, and after a post I had made on Facebook, and I was talking to them about surplus. I said, hey, you work high equity properties, right? Like, what do you do once it forecloses and you can't make the deal? And they go, oh, we just move on. I go, why? And they go, well, there's no deal. I go, what do you think happens to the money that's over and above the debt? That, you know, the bidders come in, there's multiple bidders, and they start outbidding each other. What do you think happens to that money? And they go, oh, it goes back to the bank or goes back to the bidder, right? I go, no. What was the whole point of bidding if you're just going to give them back the money, right? So I go, no, it actually gets held in escrow, and it belongs to the homeowner who just lost that property.
Man, there's probably just so much unclaimed funds out there. To be
Billions.
Honest. Like just so much, right there, frozen.
It's part of my script. Yeah, I tell people, I go, hey, you
got to share that script with me. I'm curious to see how it looks like.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That way, if I do come across a call, I know how to maneuver it. Right. I just have to see the script, and then I'll be good because I got the sales skills. You know.
For sure. So I tell people one of the problem awareness questions I ask, because we break it down using a certain sales technique. Problem awareness question I asked them, I go, did you know that there's a limited timeline to claim these funds? And they go, no, I didn't. I go, yeah, there's a limited timeline. Like, you have to file a claim or the funds get absorbed by the state. And they go, really? I go, well, let me tell you, there's actually billions of unclaimed funds sitting with the whatever state they're in right now. And they go unclaimed because the homeowner or the heirs didn't know that they can make a claim for these funds. These funds are rightfully yours.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, there's billions of dollars sitting there.
And what happens with that money if it's not claimed?
Funny fact, I investigated this because I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Right. In the fine print on a lot of the state controller websites, what they say is that once the money gets absorbed, they use the funds for the greater good of the community.
We know what that means.
That's how they use the funds.
We know what that means.
I don't know what that means, dude. I don't want to get in trouble. But maybe like private jets,
community parks and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Community parks, streets,
clean up the streets. Like,
roads. For
the roads.
For them to drive the really nice cars.
Yeah, help feed the homeless.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Surplus, dude. I hope to do. I haven't done a deal yet. Like I said, I sent over some this week.
Yeah,
because now it's on my radar. You get what I'm saying? Like that's the biggest thing. I'm already prospecting. I'm already talking to people, and it's already on my radar. Oh, I need to connect you with the probate attorney too. She's really cool. We have 3 deals with her right now.
Okay, good.
3 deals.
You can never have enough probate attorneys in your corner.
Some are assholes, some are super cool.
Yeah,
it's like everything,
and they all price differently too.
It's a trip. Some will work pro bono, and some won't. And for those, pro bonos, when the attorney's essentially not working for free, but they're delaying their pay until the deal closes, which I believe every attorney should work like that.
Yeah, on a contingency basis.
Correct.
Yeah,
because the market would be so much different if it was like that. Most attorneys get billed by the hour, so there's times where there's times where I'll have a real estate transaction. Actually, I have one right now pending. Bro, the attorney doesn't care if it's going to close or not, because if it doesn't close, they're going to just bill more hours.
Yeah.
And I don't think personally, I don't think that's right. I think they should do it per deal, just like we get paid.
So many attorneys would work and compete so much more, right?
It'd be so different
because they'd be hungry.
Yeah, it'd be so different.
Yeah. But like once you feed the lion and they're not hungry anymore, they stop hunting, right?
Yeah. And then some attorneys charge $1,500 an hour, $1,400 an hour.
Ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
We should have been attorneys, bro.
I know. Nah, we're real estate guys, but that's cool, dude. But I'm glad. I'm excited to do some deals. Yeah. I see some deals happening before the end of the year for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if if I'm really heavy in the probate. Now that I'm aware of them, I see more pre-foreclosure and auctions on I'm aware of them now.
It's on the radar now.
Yeah. So I'm like, damn, this is actually it's more common than I thought it was.
More common, and it's going to get worse, dude, because of all those mortgages that people took, before COVID.
Yeah.
And during COVID.
Yeah.
Those ARM type mortgages.
Yeah, and then to prove another point for probate guys, it's when the homeowner passes away without a living trust and they have maybe a will or something. And what a probate is when somebody files probate, they're trying to change the title over to them, right? So a lot of the times these auction houses, it's a probate. A lot of these people think that, the house is lost already. Let me just not file probate because the funds are lost anyways and the house is lost. But even if they get foreclosed on and it auctions, the heir or the beneficiary, whoever, even though there's no trust, they can still file probate after it's foreclosed to collect the funds.
Right.
And that's a trip.
Yeah. You can petition to basically probate the assets, right? So probate is essentially using the judicial system to basically make a stake or a claim at your loved one's assets. And the terminology is when somebody dies without a will or a trust, they're said to be deceased intestate. So they died intestate, which means that they died without a will or a trust. And there's definitely a difference between a will or a trust.
Oh yeah, you can have a will, but you'll still go through probate.
You'll go through probate.
It'll just be easier.
Yeah, it'll be easier because you won't have any fighting amongst family members. I mean, you still might. But whatever the wishes of the deceased were when they were still here, whatever that is in the will, that's how the judge, the court, the probate court will see that the will is carried out. But like you said, if the person dies, which there's a huge percentage of people that die without any kind of estate planning, it's crazy, dude.
What trips me out is the homes that are like $2-3 million, 1.5 mil, 1 million, and there's no trust. It's like, dude, like how, I mean, nobody plans to die. That's the thing, right? Some pass away sooner than others. Nobody plans to die, but how do you have a home at that value and not protect it?
Yeah,
because probate's expensive. You're looking at anywhere from 10 to 20% of your equity off the top by the time it reaches your loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy that we don't really think about preparing for that, because it's one of the only things that's guaranteed in life.
It's the one thing that's guaranteed in life.
Well, death and taxes, and not even taxes is guaranteed, because if you buy a bunch of real estate, you don't pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
But
it's the one thing that's guaranteed.
There's only one way out of this life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the gist is like, hey, you die intestate, or you die, it's called a testate death or property, where you have a will or a trust, and a trust doesn't have to go through probate. That's the beautiful thing about a trust. It's more expensive to set up, but it's well worth it.
So here's the thing, right? Because I have clients and stuff when I was an agent, and I think that's really where I brought the value. I learned about living trust right away.
Yeah.
And, we say, hey, it's expensive because depending on how many properties, it could cost anywhere from $800 to like $4,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what you're setting up, how many assets you have, and all that stuff.
Right.
But even if it's $4,000, it's more expensive to not do it than it is to do it. And that's what I would tell my clients. It's more expensive not to do it. So what I've even done, like even my dad, and I've set up his entire estate. I put his house under a trust. I wrapped it with the life insurance policy. So now my mom's protected if anything happens to him, because he's the breadwinner. Right. And I've done that for family members. I've done that for clients. And dude, I think that's really where the value comes in as well. Even as a real estate professional, whether you're a wholesaler or an agent, a lot of the times, you can find solutions and protect your loved ones like that.
Yeah. It would be a good idea for people like us to have estate planner partnerships. Do you have any in your, you do in your network?
Do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be a good thing.
And they're tough conversations. Right. I don't know if you've ever been like,
I used to sell life insurance.
Yeah. It's a tough conversation. Yeah. When you're there doing the plan, like they'll ask you like, hey, well, how do you want to be buried? What's your plan if you were to pass away? What's your plan if your wife's going to, it's like very, very tough conversations to have, but it's well worth it.
Yeah. Back in my life insurance selling days, dude, it was whole life, term life, real simple, no estate planning other than that. Right. I didn't set up trusts or wills or any of that. But you'd be surprised on how many people who have a house, who have a wife, who have kids, who are walking around with no life insurance, bro.
That are the breadwinners.
Where the
wife doesn't work and the kids are small.
And also they couldn't survive with maybe 2 months without a check.
Correct.
Right? So there's no income protection. There's no burial expense protection. None of that, dude.
It's a trip.
And so I had a lot of situations in houses when I sold life insurance. I sold life insurance from 2004 to 2013, 14-ish, until I got into real estate.
This guy was a top sales rep in the country.
I was top 5.
I swear. Yeah.
It was insane. I did a lot of door-to-door, a lot of driving. I don't miss it, but a lot
of grit, right? A lot of like hustle, like just straight grinding.
Dude. 9 to 9.
Yeah.
Like, I was never home for dinner. That's a whole different conversation, right? Family stuff. I was never home to help my son with his homework. I tried to be as much as I could, but that was tough. But the good thing I learned about that experience was, like you said, the grit, the never giving up, how to communicate with people in person, how to talk to a stranger.
And then removing your emotions and how you feel to the actual production, right? Like the business.
Yeah. Get disconnected from the outcome, right? Yeah. Because if you just had a door slammed on your face, 5 minutes ago, and you go to the next door and you're carrying that, it's going to be noticeable,
100%.
And that's what a lot of salespeople don't realize is like you have to check it at the door. Don't get emotional, get disconnected from the outcome, and go into every conversation as if it's the first conversation of that day. Like, how excited are you to have your first conversation? You haven't been rejected all day. You just had your coffee.
Like I'm gonna kill.
Just had your workout, bro. Like, that's when I'm like, I can just power through anything, bro. Like right after my workout, right? Yeah. And then I have my coffee, and
I'm ready. Pre-workout.
I'm ready to get on the phones. But if you can carry every conversation just like that, dude, like, it's going to come off. The energy is a lot. It's a lot about what you say, but more importantly, like how you say it, right? And the energy behind it, the confidence behind it, the conviction behind it. Because what an objection, a lot of times an objection from the buyer is merely just a way for them to see how much faith and how much belief you have in what it is you're selling and what it is you're saying. And so many people take the objections as a personal attack. Like, oh my goodness, like, you know, a good example would be when a waitress comes up to you and says, hey, would you like some dessert? You're like, oh, I'm so stuffed, I don't want to take dessert. Imagine that every time you told a waitress you didn't want dessert, they packed up, went home and cried, right? So that's the same, you know, that's the comparison.
Or another one is like when you go to a store, like a retail store, and they're like, oh, would you like some help?
Yeah, and you're like, no, I'm good.
Just looking.
Right, just looking.
And it's funny because you go to the store to buy a specific thing, and we tend to say, just looking. You know, it's funny.
You can get into the whole sales rebuttals to all those things. Maybe we'll do like a sales podcast.
Yeah, it'll be good. I guess.
But there's responses to those type of things. Oh, really? Just looking? Nah, not a problem. What are you just looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
In case you knew. I mean, let's pretend you do know. What are you looking for?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but that's cool, bro. Well, yeah, I'm excited. You know, thank you for coming today. It's
for sure.
I feel like every time we get on here, we have great conversations and provide a lot of value. Like I said, hopefully by the next time we have some deals going for sure in escrow. I'm excited.
Lastly, just want to say and wrap up, like, there's not a lot of people that do what I do in your space, right? In the wholesale and real estate investing space. And so I am 100% making myself available to real estate investors and to wholesalers that are working high equity deals that are either in pre-foreclosure or have an auction date, and they have these deals fall through the cracks somehow, some way. The seller goes ghost. The agreement couldn't be made, whatever the case may be. The probate didn't happen in time. If that property sells at a foreclosure auction and it sells for more than the debt against the property, call me. I can come in and I can help. I have a whole team that's equipped, that's ready to service your client and to make sure that we can save that equity. And the beautiful thing about it is that we get paid for our services out of the equity. So if we're able to help save $100,000 of equity for that homeowner, we're getting paid anywhere from 15, 20, or 30% of that equity.
It's a lot of, that's a big percentage for a dead deal, at least in my industry, you know, like that's, I mean,
it's more than most wholesale fees.
I would give up on those because there's no deal.
Right.
You know,
right.
So that's awesome.
And our team's very generous with revenue share. What we're going to be leaning on is the relationship that you have with that homeowner, right? And then you lean on us for our processes and systems and our attorneys, the experience. And so together we can take that deal to the finish line, and we can make a really nice profit, a really handsome profit at the end of the day.
Yeah. Let's do it. I'm excited. Yeah. Thank you for coming. And for those of the ones that don't know you, where can they find you? Social media?
Yeah, Alfred G. Taren is my handle on Instagram. So reach out, drop a comment, send me a DM. I'm available, willing to hop on a call. I'm excited to work with you guys. I'm excited to share the wealth and the knowledge on surplus funds.
Let's do it.
Watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I will soon. Know as a child back in the